Joined by Tselane here, the Vice Chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission. It's good to have you. Thank you so much for being with us, Terry. We're seeing today the second day of special votes. Just give us a little bit of an understanding of how yesterday went. I believe it was a little bit slow.
Yeah, it was a little bit slow, but we had expected it, particularly in some of the areas that we have always regarded as volatile areas, such as Vowani. But in general, we are satisfied with the level of readiness of our organization. We use special votes as a dry run for the main election, which is on the 3rd of August, and I think our processes have been tested, and now our staff also understand the kind of interest that these elections has evoked, and they will make sure that they run these elections with professionalism and integrity, because that's the most important thing to deal with all sorts of issues that people have been raising. I know
there were a couple of issues that were raised in the run-up to it, and a little bit of glitches here and there, but nothing to really sort of go into too much detail about. We talk about an unprecedented amount of special voters that have applied. 720,000 have been approved. Yesterday, are you able to come up with a number? What was it? No, numbers yet?
We are not able to give the numbers at this stage, but we will be able to try to get some more information, and by the time we have a press brief later on, we should have an indication of how successful the process has gone.
Now, just for people that perhaps for those that have applied for special votes and they didn't get to go and vote today, which maybe something comes up, and yesterday something came up, they weren't able to go. Obviously, they're still allowed to go and vote over the next tomorrow during the voting day. Will they get special treatment?
Not special treatment. They will be able to cast a vote like any other person. As if you had applied for a special vote and you, for some reasons, were not able to go to your station, or you were not home to be visited by our officials yesterday and today, that person may as well go to the voting station tomorrow, and they will be catered for like all other voters who will be coming to the voting stations.
Okay, so, but the elderly standing in queues, pregnant ladies standing in queues, will they be able to come to the front of the queue?
Of course, the infirm and people with babies.
Great.
We always try to prioritize those people when they get to the voting station, so that they don't stay for too long in our queues.
Yeah, I'm glad, because that was the answer that I was looking for. Just hoping that they'll be helped. What about those individuals and citizens that would like to vote that have issues with seeing, that are vision impaired?
They will be catered for. We have got a braille in all our stations, and individuals who are visually challenged will be catered for in terms of the process that we have set in motion.
Excellent. So braille at all of the voting stations around South Africa. Talk to me about the amount of voting stations, because I can imagine that today is a day that is certainly going to be very, very hectic for you. Besides the special votes that are happening, you have to ensure that at what's that time again? What time are we opening tomorrow?
We're opening at 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock. Thank you for reminding me. When those polling stations open at 7 o'clock in the morning, you don't want any delays. Obviously there are going to be some delays, but 7 o'clock until 7 p.m. What needs to be done today?
We're going to be opening all our 22,612 voting stations to cater for the 26,333,335 registered voters. And then we are ready, our logistics are in place, people will be at our stations, we have trained them, we have recruited, we've trained, they are ready, and then we will run this processes with integrity.
Yeah, well, that's the important thing, because when you have a look around, there are a couple of accusations flying around at the moment, and particularly in Mpumalanga, where we're saying that an Mpumalanga political party has accused the IEC and the ANC of holding meetings to discuss ways of how to rig the voting.
I always say that rumors fly faster than facts. We have not received any of such complaint, but most of the time people just use social media to say all sorts of things that are really not correct or true. And I think it is important for people to make sure that every time when they post information on social media about what may be happening or not happening, they must make sure that the information is accurate. But there can't be any of our officials who would sit with any of the political parties to agree on any other process. We've got our own processes. Our officials will follow those processes. They know the importance of having to stick to the law and having to make sure that they run these processes with integrity and impartiality.
Okay. Also, those just finally, those ballot boxes and those stolen ballot papers that you recovered. I know that some of them have been burnt and others have been completely destroyed. They are not allowed to be used. And if you are found with stolen ballot papers, what are the consequences for anybody interfering with IEC officials, with ballot papers, with anything that has to do with this election?
We will take very, very strong action against any individual who is found in custody of our voting material, not only the ballot papers, but any material that they are not entitled to have.
Yeah.
And then in the case that you referred to in Dobsonville, where about 1,900 of ballot papers were stolen, the police acted very swiftly. They arrested the suspect, and the ballot papers were recovered. Some of them were burned. But we took a decision as the Commission that we are not going to be using those ballot papers that were recovered. We reprinted and introduced new security measures in the ballot papers for that particular area so that we do not use those, or no one uses those ballot papers that had been stolen. You know, the beauty about our system is that we've got serial numbers for each and every ballot paper. And then it is possible, therefore, when anything happens to a ballot paper, we quarantine it, we quarantine those serial numbers and make sure that those serial numbers are not used at all for the purpose of our elections. So those are some of the mechanisms that we've put in place to make sure that we can run this process with integrity.
Thank you so much for talking to us. Terry Tselane is the Vice Chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission, somebody that you'll be hearing from very, very often as this broadcast comes to you until Friday, and that's when I imagine the results, of course, will be almost finished counting by that time. All right.